All right, welcome into episode 15 of Save the Franchise. Tyler and I are here to talk quarterbacks today. It's going to be a good one. We're through 6 weeks of the NFL season, so we're recording this on Wednesday before Week 7 starts off, and so should be a good one. We think 6 weeks into the season, we've got enough intel that how quarterbacks have played so far this year is kind of going to give us some information, especially some of the younger quarterbacks, some of the second-year quarterbacks potentially that may have warmed their way up higher on top 10, top ranking lists. And so we figured now was a pretty good time to go ahead and do that, and it'll inform kind of how we're thinking about quarterbacks the rest of the season, how some of these schemes are impacting how the quarterbacks are looking and all that. So, Tyler, how are you feeling today?
Feeling pretty good. I mean, Keegan and I both agree that quarterback is the most important position on a football field, and they really do matter for team success. You can't win a Super Bowl without a QB. So today we're really going to focus over the QBs that we think could do that potentially. So
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Great. We're gonna get into this. We're gonna do a top 12 list. We were initially thinking top 10. And Tyler kind of pointed out when we were making the list, though, it starts to get a little bit difficult when you get to when you add in 11 and 12, how exactly that shapes out. And we also think it provides kind of a little bit of a good, stopping point right there. So we're going to go to 12. We'll give some honorable mentions, maybe talk a little bit about why some quarterbacks we're not going to put on the list aren't there. And then the format we're going to do this a little bit different than our power rankings episode. Instead of Tyler and I each having our own separate lists, and starting from the bottom, we're going to start from 1 and go all the way down, and we're going to kind of build a list together and come up with what we agree upon as the proper list of quarterbacks. We're going to rank this according to just current ability of the quarterbacks. Some of how they're improving and playing now will play into that, as you'll see and we'll talk about. But this is not solely based on this season, right? This is not a performance ranking. Anybody can go to the stats pages, look at how they're doing. You can go look at EPA for yourself, completion percentage, yards, touchdowns, all that. You don't need to listen to us talk about that. So, this is going to take into account some of the past, some of just understanding where these quarterbacks, what they're dealing with right now, all that. So, let's get into this. Tyler, we gonna have any surprises at number 1?
yeah, no, I think we both agree that the best QB in the NFL is still Patrick Mahomes. It's been for however many years, I think 6 or 7 now, or however long it's been. He clearly is the best QB, and I mean, he's playing like it this season. I think right now he might be the betting favorite for MVP, or at least he's close to it.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been playing some of the best football we've ever seen from him, and we already know, just based on every single thing, improvisation, even his ability to run too is still crazy.
Yeah.
One thing I will value, and you'll see throughout this ranking, I do value QBs who aren't just fast, I care more about efficient while scrambling, and the guys who can really just get those first downs on the third and longs and stuff like that. I value that a lot, and I think that in the playoffs comes down to it a lot too. Can't play man against those teams, or if you do, you're gonna bite it.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, I think that's one of the biggest places where quarterbacks have the ability to really carry their team and influence how well their offense performs. I think, if you'll go back and look at Tyler laid out the case for Mahomes very well. It doesn't really need to be stated by any NFL fan who's not super tied up in all the Chiefs garbage and the refs are controlling and dictating these games and da-da-da. If you've been watching the NFL, keenly and critically over the past, 5 years, you're going to understand what he's done and why he's here. I think Allen played better than him last year. That's something I expressed during the summer. But Mahomes was still close and overall still the better quarterback in my opinion. And we both expressed throughout the summer and throughout the year Mahomes has been our top quarterback. That hasn't wavered. This isn't just because the Chiefs are now rolling in and showing up at this point in the season. This is something we've always felt. So let's move on to 2. I'm still very much on the Allen train. You there too?
Yeah, I am.
All right.
I think it's a pretty easy still call for second here.
All right. So Josh Allen's going to be our second quarterback. I'll run through it a little bit. There's a few things that Allen is better at than Mahomes in certain running scenarios and in the designed quarterback run game. Allen is bigger, better weapon than Mahomes, a little bit more durable in that respect. Allen, I would say, has a better deep ball. Maybe not a better understanding and reading of the field, but a better deep ball nonetheless. I think he succeeds a little bit better with his back shoulder throws, but he's still, he's very similar to Mahomes in that, like, he is a third down weapon, kind of like Tyler was talking about. Like, this is a guy who can kind of carry his team on third down and make things happen. Allen's had a really good offensive line, but, even so, he's one of the quarterbacks I'd want playing behind a poor offensive line. The running gives a ton of floor to the team, and, I just, overall, I don't see any reason why Allen shouldn't be the number 2 quarterback. He only misses out on the top spot. In plenty of other times in NFL history, he would be the number 1 guy. It's just he's playing at the same time as Mahomes. So,
Yeah, just to add on, I think he's also a scheme-independent player.
yes.
And I think a lot of what separates a lot of these later QBs that we have on our list, a lot of those guys are more scheme-dependent. Allen, you could put on any single scheme, no matter how bad it is, and they would still be a somewhat successful offense just from the fact that, like, his ability to run, create plays out of nothing, and he still has that deep ball that is still very special. It's just he is a complete package, and I think he clearly is number 2 by a decent amount.
Yeah, I think you can make the argument that Mahomes, Allen, and Herbert are the only true scheme-independent quarterbacks in the NFL right now, in terms of they will play at the same level regardless of what scheme they're in. So, yeah. All right, move on to 3?
Yes.
All right. Any doubts about Lamar Jackson and how he's played this season?
I do not. I still think he is clearly the third best QB in the NFL. He still has those special traits that is the reason he has been an MVP. And yeah, the things that he does to a defense, I think makes him deserve to be top 3.
Yeah. I have creeping issues with Lamar Jackson. It's just that the upside and everything that you can do with him is so pronounced. And he really has been such a good passer this past year and a half. I mean, what he's developed into and his ability to find, people open and extend plays and play from the pocket better, but also, the read option, like, there's just, he is not scheme independent, but man, when you put him in the right scheme, it's nigh unstoppable. And so my only really doubt is, like, he seems to shrink a bit in the playoffs and in the big moments, especially so against Kansas City, I would say, but in general as well. I mean, he just doesn't quite play as well. I also think maybe it's not fair to put that all on him, though, because I think some of that's Harbaugh, too. Like, I don't think their coaching is as good in the postseason or the big moments either, so.
Yeah, I also think Lamar's another one of those guys who's kind of lacking weapons. I know Mahomes has made it work in the past. Allen's really made it work too. But I think Lamar, if you gave him like a true X receiver or something like that to really come in there, I think he would really prove who he is and maybe even have some more postseason success. I know when you have a QB like that who already elevates an offense, it's hard to like actually invest in a weapon because you can invest that cap on defense. But like, I don't know. I think for that situation, at least in Baltimore right now, especially because it's hard for them to do this, especially the way their defense has been looking this season. But if they did get like, just say like an AJ Brown caliber player, I think it would be a beyond scary offense, and I think Lamar would be solidified as a top 3 QB by every single fan.
That's fair, and I think the other detail with that is like the big place where that would show up is playing from behind. As much as he's improved in that respect, it was a very big thing with early Lamar. Like, he needs to play with a lead. Like, he needs to, be able to lean on the run game and things like that, which he is very much a part of. So that's not totally taking away. That was not totally taking away things from him. But, yeah, I think we've just never really seen him with, like, a truly high-quality pass-catching group. And so, yeah, I think at this point in his career, the way the skills line out, how creative of a pocket passer he's become, and his play extension ability, I think he would be, if you gave him good weapons, high quality pass catching weapons, he would be a very good quarterback from playing from behind. It's just that Mahomes and Allen are still really, really elite quarterbacks when playing from behind without great pass catching weapons.
Yeah.
So, all right, things start to get murky here. I think Tyler and I both knew we were going to come in. These were going to be the top three. We're going to kind of talk about it. One of the interesting things about the top three is I think Tyler and I also feel that they're very specifically like tiered out. Like Mahomes is a tier above Allen. Allen's a tier above Lamar. Like it's very clear those gaps. Who do you have for 4? Or would you rather would you rather I throw out like 3 or 4 names that I think could be considered for 4, and then we can talk about them?
I have like a tier 2. I didn't really break up my top 10 into
Okay.
lists. Well, I guess not tier 2 because yeah, what you said earlier, I would have Mahomes tier 1, Allen tier 2, Lamar tier 3. So this would be my tier 4. Uh, I'm not gonna say who, but there are 3 guys I have here that I think kind of could go either way.
Okay.
I think, but
Here,
at 4,
let me put out 3 names that I think are in the conversation for 4, and we'll see where we line up on this. Matt Stafford, Justin Herbert, and Joe Burrow.
I do not have Stafford that high,
Okay.
but
Not
at
into
4,
the All-American gunslinger?
no, I have him pretty close, but not that high. But I do have him next, but not that tier. But,
Okay. So do you want to throw one more hat into the
yeah,
ring, and then we can start figuring this out?
yeah, my other one is Jaden Daniels. Here.
Okay.
But at 4, I personally would choose Herbert.
So
Like,
I was leaning Stafford.
wow.
Obviously, like, not much playing time left. And I know I was on him in the Rams about the back injury thing. But, like, I don't know. I just think when I look at big moments, games, trying to play from behind or with a lead, yeah, he's a little bit more scheme specific. Obviously, I was calling out Herbert as one of the guys you can scheme independent. It's all good. Like, I'm just kind of, I don't know. I think Stafford's the guy I would trust more than Herbert.
It's just the mobility is really not there right now.
And that's
If you
fair.
can get pressure, he's not able to maneuver around the pocket. Like,
Man, he's kind of got the answers to the test a lot. And I know a piece of that is McVay, if you want to make part of that the analysis. I'm okay with putting Herbert at 4. I think there's a case to be made for Stafford, and yeah, that's kind of where I was leaning.
like I could see what you mean right now. Like right now, if I want a QB, I'm trying to win a Super Bowl. I would have Stafford high, but I would still have Herbert higher. Like,
So one of the biggest things for me is that these anticipation throws. Like, okay, Puka is great. He really is an awesome wide receiver. The amount of times I see Stafford launch that thing prior to Puka even breaking, and then that's put perfectly into his big ass hip pocket area where no one can get to it, is astounding. I mean, some of these digs and things, the amount of anticipation it's thrown with, and yeah, the receiver has to be doing his job and running it to the exact right depth and working the defense properly. Like, don't get me wrong, Puka's a big piece of that. Like, you can't do it without the receiver like being a very, very good, very competent player with good mental aspects. But like, just some of that stuff that it unlocks. I mean, when that offense is rolling and he's throwing like that, it's kind of unguardable. And there's not really anything the defense can do. And you want to tell me that a quarterback can unlock like the intermediate to deep passing game kind of at will like that? I have a special place in my heart for that, because that's kind of how you win and decide playoff games, in my opinion, in true hard-fought matchups.
I just think Herbert has some of that ability, not to Stafford level, but he has been throwing with great anticipation this year. His deep ball has been the best it's ever looked in his career. Part of that is Quentin Johnson actually playing like a quality player. But
Yeah, well, that's part of the thing is people don't realize tracking play. When you're talking true deep balls, the wide receivers tracking plays such a big part in it.
yeah, but also just catching too. Herbert has put them on him in years past, and he's dropped it, but this year he's finally catching it too, because that's part of why I do have Herbert high. The fact that he could pin balls onto people. Like, yeah, the anticipation that Stafford has is nearly like unguardable. But when you're consistent pinning balls onto guys, not missing throws, and it's just the running upside, it's hard for me not to put Herbert at 4.
That's fair. In some of the merits I'll give to Herbert, absolutely. I think Herbert's just got this profound ability to read defenses that kind of might be second to nobody but Mahomes, in that he, and this is something they kind of had to break him out of a little bit. He will run through his answers and skip, reads that don't need to be part of the progression, and just move to the right answer, move to the check down immediately. And so it leads to really getting the most out of running backs out of the backfield. Tight ends that you wouldn't necessarily think would be like good pass catching options, right? They're not creating a ton of space, but he finds the little hole in the zone and just pins it on that back shoulder and up the seam. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of things he does that, yeah, are absolutely like really elevating characteristics. I don't know, maybe I'm just a little bit in love with that ceiling of Stafford and what exactly that allows you to do. But yeah, I'm fine with putting Herbert here.
Okay, and I'm fine putting Stafford at 5. Even though I do have him a tier lower, it really does come down to the fact that in a playoff situation where you're going against an elite defense, he is able to drop passes in, yeah, with the anticipation. It's something that's so hard to do. I mean, we saw it last year in the Eagles-Rams game. There should have been no reason that game like should have been close. Like in reality, I think Eagles should have won by 30 to 40 just from standard, but it was just the fact that it wasn't like the Eagles' secondary was playing bad, especially on that last drive. The throws that he did to Puka that drive were ridiculous. Like,
yeah,
the only reason Eagles won that game at the end was the fact that Stafford's ability is still going, and I think
it's a fair point. It really is. Don't get me wrong. Well, and honestly, I think they can unlock Herbert in the running game more than they do, and so I think that's a piece of it. Is some people might be listening to you and be like, you're talking about you're dinging Stafford for mobility, but like Herbert doesn't. No. Herbert can run more than they let him, and honestly, probably more than he wants to, but he can run. I think in a different world, don't get me wrong, I like what Harbaugh's doing for him, but I think in a different world with like the ideal coach matchup, you're getting him with someone like LaFleur, and it's just like this beautiful like rollout game paired with like the QB option, like some of the running stuff Mahomes does, and the red zone especially. I think you could really translate with Herbert. I think that's an untapped piece of his game that we might not ever get to see in his career. All right, let's move to 6 here. So we have 2 quarterbacks left over that we were kind of throwing in the hat for 4 that we thought could be talked about there, right? And so that's Burrow, Joe Burrow, and Jaden Daniels. What do you think here? You want to lay out a little bit what you see the key differences as?
Okay, so Joe Burrow, obviously most people are probably freaking out why we didn't have Burrow at 4, because I think that's what the consensus opinion is right now about Burrow. And the fact that Stafford was named over Burrow probably has pissed off a Bengals fan out there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
The fact is, Burrow has been very consistent. Early on in his career, he does usually elevate into playoffs. I know recently he's been struggling to make the playoffs, or even struggling to stay healthy. But when he is healthy out there, he still is amazing in the head. He reads defenses really well. I think the Bengals scheme is one of the worst in the NFL, and I think we're kind of seeing that with the backups. The fact that they just win with talent.
I do just want to kind of raise my hand up a little bit and say, like, I don't know that that's like a choice, though. I kind of think Burrow requires that scheme. I don't think he's comfortable without it.
Maybe, but...
And that's part of the reason I ding him.
I'm excited to see him next year with a new coach, assuming Taylor gets fired, because I really want to see if he could play, because he honestly could go up on my list by a lot if he still plays like he does in a better schemed offense where he has to make more decisions. But, I mean, his accuracy is great. He's great under pressure. There's been a million times where a guy is coming in at him full speed and he stays in the pocket and delivers a strike, and the toughness is there.
I'll give him that. He is truly one of the best guys coming down the barrel at you, and I'm going to throw it anyways sorts of guys.
Which does matter in the playoffs, too. I mean, Stafford's also great at that, too, for the most part. It's just, when it comes to a playoff setting, you need to make that throw on
Yeah.
third and long, and you have to stay in the pocket, take the hit, and he can do that. So why you actually are more down on him right now?
So I think it's just the classic things I've always had an issue with Burrow. I think you have to play that scheme. I don't think you can put him really under center. To be fair, most modern quarterbacks don't like going under center, but I think like, and this is a little bit anecdotal, but when I watch him play under center, he does not like he doesn't just not like it. He actively plays worse and doesn't handle turning his back to the defense very well. So you're kind of stuck in shotgun. Maybe they should try pistol some more because I don't think they do much of that. And maybe you could unlock some interesting things with that and kind of get things diversified a little bit. But I have some issue with that. And the other thing is, honestly, like, he's not really the guy I want in the huddle. I don't love his mentality or approach to playing the game. Everybody wants to go cold Joe Burrow, and yeah, he has the steady heartbeat in play. I don't know that he's like the moral leader of my team, which the quarterback naturally has to be a part of, that I really want. So that's another big thing I ding him on. And then I think he's got the same mobility issues as Stafford, right? And so when you're not gonna be, and he's just not. He is an anticipatory thrower, but he's not quite the deep unlocking thrower, in my opinion, that Stafford kind of consistently is when he's on fire. And so, if you're gonna have that lack of mobility, but not that added like killer bonus out of the pocket, I have a hard time, putting you a little bit higher. So, Jaden Daniels is interesting.
Yeah.
I think I still have Burrow definitively ahead of him because of just the level of Burrow's drop back game. And Burrow is pretty good at hitting the checkdowns and the tight ends and utilizing that. And Daniels has been good in a lot of these respects, and obviously his legs, hands down, great weapon to have. There's just, I think, a little bit more maturity in understanding of the game that I would want to see in order to put him above Burrow.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things I want Daniels to improve on, and I'm sure he will over the years. But just starting off pre-snap, he's not on Burrow's level pre-snap, and I know you might disagree with that. But
No, I agree.
okay,
Absolutely. No, Burrow. That's another thing that's great about Burrow. Burrow's top two attributes, in my opinion, are the pre-snap and this like whip-like. He might have the fastest like decide to throw and the ball comes out time in the NFL.
yeah, which is an amazing thing to have.
It is. It's just not really a high upside trait, right?
Yeah, and it really negates the amount of like games where you take 5+ sacks, but also
right.
It doesn't.
It is a great thing. It is a great thing to have. It's just it doesn't really account into the like when I'm battling back and forth between him and like Stafford and Herbert. Like I don't really like. It's not. It doesn't give him extra upside compared to those guys.
Yeah, so I think Burrow is better pre-snap, and I think in just standard drop back passing, I would still take Burrow. I think Daniels might actually have a better deep ball. I think it's close. Actually, no. Right now, I'd still give it to Burrow, but I think it's close.
I don't know. I think Daniels might have the best deep ball in the NFL.
It's close. I don't know. Burrow still has a great deep ball, though.
I think Burrow has a better high point. I think Daniels has a better over the shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, just throws it
high point back shoulder. I'll give it to Burrow. Over the shoulder, I don't know that there's anything quite like Daniels' arc on those.
There isn't.
He's kind of got like the classic Rodgers. Just it almost like appears in the player's hand. It doesn't come streaking down to the player's hand. It just like floats in, and I think you can hear that when the wide receivers talk about how it feels to catch those balls. Like I think you can hear it.
Yeah, I could see that.
Hurts kind of does that too. I don't think it's quite as good as Daniels.
Well, I think Hurts is kind of still lacking in arm strength in order to really.
Daniels has better arm strength and field accessibility. He can decide a little bit later to throw a ball, but he kind of has the same like drop it in the bucket too.
Yeah, which is great to have because a lot of those times it leads to underthrows, and underthrows are always a good thing in the NFL because
Yeah.
free PIs every time you go for that. It's
Eh,
either a highlight catch or yeah,
honestly, I'm surprised we haven't had a true like underthrow merchant yet. I feel like we're
yeah.
gonna get one within the next 10 years where there's a guy for a year or two that's just gonna like exploit the hell out of it.
I feel like you need to have the team to do it. You need to have a very physical X to
Yeah.
do it, and it would be broken because every single time it is a flag. It's not like you're doing anything. The refs are calling things right. It's just an unavoidable flag. But yeah, it will be exploited eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I would take Burrow though and just standard drop back passing and pre-snap, and I think just because of those things, I would put him over Daniels right now. But if you're asking me which one I would rather have to start a franchise, then it's not even close.
Yeah,
But
I think there's a lot of untapped potential there. One of the things I think we're taking into account a little bit is like if we're seeing significant growth right at this moment, like I think we can project a little bit and say like, hey, this is going to go. But like Daniels has kind of been steady so far this season. I think there's a lot more growth in his future. It's just that the injury and and a little bit of that stuff has kind of mucked that up a little bit. So yeah, I think Joe Burrow at 6, Jaden Daniels at 7 is the way to go. Yeah. We on board?
yep.
All right. So let me just roll through the list real quick. Um, we've got Patrick Mahomes at 1, Josh Allen at 2, Lamar Jackson at 3, Justin Herbert at 4, Matt Stafford at 5, Joe Burrow at 6, and Jaden Daniels at 7. And I feel there's a little bit of a tier break here. I think the next 3 names in the top 10 are kind of just a little bit off this, and a little bit more murky potential inclusions. So I don't know. How do we want to go about tackling 8 here, Tyler? You want me to throw out some more names again?
Yeah, we could do that again.
Okay. So the next few guys on my list, and I haven't really thought about specifically whether I would all consider them worthy of 8 or not, but the next few guys I kind of was considering here: May, Dak, Baker, Goff, and Hurts.
Okay, that's who I have too remaining.
Okay. So I think I'm leaning Drake Maye.
That's what I have too.
Okay. Let's talk about this because I think this might be a surprise to some people. We had May outside the top 10 coming into the season. I think I was fairly explicit about saying, like, I'm pretty damn close to, like, putting him in the top 10, and I think that's very much like a likelihood once we get a little ways into the season. But I think he truly has arrived. And honestly, like, if you want to talk about who's played the best over just this first 6 weeks, he's probably in the top 5, top 4, maybe 3. You know,
Yeah,
like
I think 3.
he's played
Yeah.
really well. One of the interesting notes, actually, we were talking about the deep ball a little bit. He's been extraordinary on deep balls. He's got almost a perfect passer rating on deep balls this season with like a 75% completion percentage. I mean, it's been really good. Drake Maye is as close as we will probably ever see to Josh Allen. I mean, he is tall, he is built, he is able to play with physicality in that frame. He is fast, maybe even a little bit faster than Allen, with just not quite the same bulk. And he has a live wire arm that is truly, I mean, he can rip that thing. I mean, I think we're talking Allen, and then it's May in terms of just fitted in, absolute laser to a location on the field. I think there's some other guys that are up there. Daniels has pretty good arm strength. Mahomes has pretty good arm strength. Stafford, I think, it's faded some, but still really good. And yeah, I think just all these traits, he's read the field much better this season. I think the sack avoidance is really good for Drake Maye. I just all these traits, and they're still developing. He's kind of great at everything, and I think he has a legitimate shot to end up with the kind of separate alien tier that I view, Lamar, Allen, and Mahomes in compared to all these other guys. I think Jaden Daniels has a shot at it as well. I'm not quite there's something a
Yeah.
little bit missing there that I feel like May has a little bit more of this processing X factor that's going to lead to him being able to get there.
Yeah, this week I just watched the entirety of the Patriots game. I didn't even watch Red Zone. I really just wanted to see May play for fantasy reasons and also just wanted to just watch him play. And wow, I've never seen a QB really. Oh, okay, I've seen a QB, but I've never seen a second year QB who has very little talent around him strike that type of fear into a defense.
Yeah.
Like when he does that out there, especially on third down, every single third down that game, like I just I saw the Saints players like just like give a sigh because they knew what was happening.
Yeah.
He is able to make plays out of absolutely nothing. Part of that is his ability to extend plays, similar to Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, but he's also able to like just improvise random flips to guys too. Like that one play he had to Henderson. I mean, in college, one time he threw a ball with his left hand because his right hand was being grabbed and threw a touchdown with his left hand.
Yeah.
It's just he has those specialty. I don't even know how to quantify them, but
Hmm.
he just has like that special X factor
He's a
out
football
there.
player.
That
He
yeah,
plays football.
it's just like yeah, the intangibles that he has are just ridiculous, and that's kind of what I want in my QB, especially
Hmm.
for a long-term franchise QB. I mean, he's already so high up there. I had a tough time actually putting him down this low. It just, I had to sit back and just like really realize he's not completely there yet.
Yeah.
But wow, I mean, just watch him play. If you are saying like, oh, we should like Baker's the best QB in the NFL, why is he below? Like, go watch a Drake May game, and your jaw is going to hit the ground. Like,
Yeah. You remember a few years ago, Jordan Love took over, and that back half of the season looked great, and everybody was complaining that they had gone from Favre to Rodgers to Love, and it was just completely unfair. And the Packers fans don't know what hardship is, and da 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 da, and so many NFL fans complaining. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised we haven't gotten to the point yet where people are complaining that the Patriots only had to wait like 4 years to go from Brady to May.
yeah. And to make it even better, so Jets fans have to deal with Josh Allen and Drake May in their division for a team who hasn't made the playoffs in 15 years.
Yeah.
There's a decent chance that streak goes up to 25 with the current
Well, they're
ownership.
not grabbing the division anytime soon, so.
So, yeah, but right now, I've been beyond impressed with May this year.
Yeah.
I was expecting him to look good. I wasn't expecting him to look this good because the talent still isn't there. The O-line still isn't incredible yet. They have been playing decently well, though, at least in terms of pass blocking.
They're pretty good in pass blocking. They're pretty good.
Yeah,
There's still some holes. They're dealing with it. I think some of the blitz pickups can be a lot better. Da da da. The run game is pretty atrocious, but
yeah,
I mean, that's more credit, all the more credit to May. Like he's kind of been functioning as one of the best passing, one of the most productive passing quarterbacks, one of the best passing quarterbacks in the league so far this year, and he's done it without a run game.
yeah. They actually have zero run game, to be more specific. They've been fumbling. They've been averaging less than 3 yards a carry for the most part. It just has been non-existent, and it's not even like their defense has been like locked down either. They've been allowing a lot of points, and the only reason they're in games is because of May, and that's honestly why I think he should be getting some sort of MVP buzz this year. Not actually like the favorite or anything, but I think he should be in talks because that is what he is right now.
Yeah.
If we're talking most valuable to their team,
Yeah,
you
I
know
agree.
you replace him with uh like an average backup. I think they might be a fairly close to number one pick type team, or at least like top five pick.
Yeah, the defense hasn't been what we thought it was going to be. Part of that's Christian Gonzalez missing some time, but even
Yes.
so, like it hasn't really reached what we thought it could be. You know, the pass rush is a little lacking. The linebackers not quite figuring it out. And yeah, the weapons. I mean, they're not great. May still needs a number one. Like Diggs against the Bills, that was fun to watch. Don't get me wrong, but like he's really not a number one anymore. And Booty had a great week last week. It was cool to see him go off. He's still really young. I think he could be potentially a nice two. And I am giving up hope on Kyle Williams as a nice piece. But like none of these guys in the building are even potential ones in my opinion. And so, you know, I think I've heard a little bit of buzz that they might go after Chris Olave, and if you just like completely ignore the injury side of that, that could be really fun.
Yeah, it could be.
I wouldn't do it if I had the Patriots. I'm not bringing in those
Yeah, he might
concussions.
be one concussion
But
away from retiring, but
yeah, but it would be fun to watch.
yeah.
So, all right, Drake May. One last question. If this is a little bit of a two-parter. One, how high do you think Drake May could climb by the end of this postseason? And then two, what are the things you want to see primarily from him to start climbing up even further on this list over the back half of the season?
Okay, so you're talking realistically. Like, I don't think he's winning a Super Bowl this year,
Yeah,
right?
realistically.
Okay, realistically, I think Patriots right now are a playoff team. Just say I think he could win a playoff game or two. I think it's definitely possible, especially considering the AFC isn't as powerful as it usually is this year.
Right.
I
I
think he could
think
win two playoff
I
games.
think you need to not run into the Chiefs, and as long as that doesn't happen in your first two rounds, two playoff wins is totally viable.
Yeah, and I think if he does that, I have a hard time. I think he is top four at the very least, and I honestly, I think he could pass Lamar potentially. I
Okay.
I think because okay, it's just the playoff success really does matter. If
Yeah.
it matters how he looks in those playoff games. But if he is the reason they win two playoff games against better rosters, probably, I have a hard time believing. I have a hard time putting him behind Lamar, who has had better rosters and has lost playoff games.
Right.
So, but yeah, I don't think you can put him up ahead of Allen this year unless he does something superhuman and wins a Super Bowl with that team. But
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much on board. It would need to be pretty special for me to get him past Lamar, but I think it's possible. I'm gonna
the
answer
second
my own
part.
question a little bit, but you can tag on after. I would say just one quick thing. So they're gonna play the they've had a really easy schedule, and that's kind of the thing, right? So they're gonna play the Falcons, which are providing a very unique blitz sort of pressure on teams right now. I think that's going to be an interesting game to kind of get a little bit of more like detailed read on him, right? I think the Bucks game, Todd Bowles also presents very unique sorts of challenges, so that's going to be a very informative game. And then if the Ravens can kind of get this back together before the end of the season, they play in late December. And so if that defense can kind of figure itself out again, and the Ravens aren't just like completely dejected because they're out of the playoffs by then, that could be a really informative game. And then obviously whatever you get in the playoffs is going to be really helpful in telling. But I think those are the sorts of games you're looking at to really gain more information. So you want to go ahead and talk about it specifically, what we might be looking for from him?
yeah, for May, the thing is, he hasn't really shown that many weaknesses in this game, and every single thing has been a strength. I think it's really just taking it from being a really good QB to being an incredible or generational
Mm-hmm.
type QB. Uh, I think in some aspects, especially like you mentioned, the arm talent is obviously already at that near generational level, but it's just in terms of just processing. Even his running this year, I think has been a little bit underwhelming for.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, a little bit. He still has been one of the most efficient scramblers in the league, but I still think there is
I
room
think
for
there's more.
improvement.
Yeah,
And I think a large part of that is the fact that the running game isn't working. You can't really do that many read options when
right.
the running back serves zero threat because everyone's just going to collapse on the QB then. It's just, I think part of that is in order to, I think the running game needs to improve. I think the only option for that happening is the O line getting better at run blocking and also giving Henderson the
More
full
carries. Yeah,
reins because
Jeez.
it's just Stevenson is not it anymore. I do not know what Vrabel sees. It's not even like Henderson's fumbling. Stevenson isn't even great at pass protection either. It's just I don't see why he's still there. I mean, maybe he's a good locker room guy or something, but
Free my boy Travion, but man, yeah,
it's hard to watch.
yeah.
But
Yeah, so I think I agree. Like, right. I think it's a little bit more, it's the development of his true ace traits. Can we take that super live wire arm and make the use of it? So those deep balls and those tight window throws, can we elevate that to an elite, X factor sort of trait, right? And a couple things like that. The scrambling, can that just bump it up just a level, right, and really reach that game breaking sort of status with those skills? And now you're looking at just an amazing quarterback. I think pre-snap he can get a little bit better. That's the one like skill that I think is still a little bit not quite like to the baseline of a top 7, top 8 sort of quarterback. But everything else I kind of think is like is pretty much there. I think outside of Mahomes and Allen, you can pretty much find everything. You can pretty much find a thing that he does better than every other quarterback we've chosen to put above him, right? Not holistically, they're better, right? Overall, they're better. But you can find things that he is better at than Jaden Daniels, things that he is better at than Burrow, and so on and so forth, right?
Yes.
So, just elevate a couple of those true ace traits, and I think he climbs. All right, let's move on to... We wanted to spend a lot of time on Drake Maye, so I don't think that was too bad. But let's move on. We were talking. I was mentioning Dak, Baker, Goff, Hurts. That's kind of who we have in this pocket to end up in the top 12. So who do you got next? Who do you want to put out there?
At this point, I'm going with my home QB. Where I'm actually wearing his T-shirt jersey right now, Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
It hasn't been the prettiest year for him so far. However, I think a large part of that is just due to first and second down inefficiencies of the offense, which is partially on him. But it's really hard when when you face a third and long rate more than any other team in the NFL. And yeah, I think part of it has just been the early down struggles for the Eagles and also just getting drives starting too. The fact is, Eagles also have had the worst field position to start in every single drive this year too. Once things get going, you see Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense looking back to how normal it is.
Mm-hmm.
But they have been struggling to start getting it going, and I think a large part of that is due to the fact that Hurts still has some liabilities the defense have been taking advantage of.
Yeah.
But I still think his traits, his ability to pre-snap, deep ball, and just running upside, I think those traits, and I mean, obviously he elevates in the postseason too. For me, it's hard to put guys who are more unproven ahead of him still.
That's fair. So I'm on board with a lot of this. The one of the things I'll say with Hurts is he doesn't belong in the top 12 unless if you really like. He might be the most scheme dependent guy in this bunch in terms of good quarterbacks in the NFL. Like he might be the most scheme dependent guy because I think you need to play with an offense that utilizes his deep passing game. And I think you need to play in a way that utilizes his legs, his power legs, some, right? And get some value out of that in order for him to be a high quality quarterback. But it sure as hell can look really good when you utilize his really good traits. I think that's part of the reason it hasn't looked good this year is they're not operating with the scheme that maximizes Jalen Hurts. And so you're not getting great quarterback play. You're getting middling to back into the top 20 quarterback play just naturally because you're asking the wrong things of him. And so, that's a little bit limiting for me, but when we get to this point in the list, like I don't have a big problem with that because I don't think it's too difficult to build a team out, in terms of how the NFL should be structured. I don't think building out a team where you're like if he's truly the ninth highest paid quarterback, right? I don't think you have a hard time building out the offensive scheme in such a way to maximize that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there's a few things. He's not the best at recognizing pressure. He's not the best pre-snap. And that's where some of the stuff I'd look at. Maybe I'm starting to think Dak would be ahead of him. But I like that he elevates his play in the postseason. So I kind of like Hurts here as well.
Yeah. Hurts actually has been better against pressure this year than last year, surprisingly. It's really just the fact that last year he didn't get pressured.
Mm-hmm.
Of this year he does.
Yeah.
Like I think part of this year with Hurts is you're really seeing him in a system that is atrocious. And I think most QBs in the league, other than the scheme independent guys, would be struggling with this Eagles team. I mean, the OC can't even get Saquon Barkley to average more than 2.5 yards a carry with a great run blocking O-line. Like, there is I think a lot of these guys would be struggling too with this current Eagles offense. But when it really comes down to it, I still think, Hurts he's a powerful runner when it comes in postseason. he is going to be a threat on these third and longs too. It's just right now in a regular season he's getting into third and longs way too much. But in an actual playoff game in a setting where you're going against a playoff defense, his deep ball, similar to what we said about Jaden Daniels, it's nearly like unguardable. Just from the fact that it does come in at a fairly high arc, draws a lot of PIs too, partially because of that.
And I think he has a great understanding. Yes, he gets them a lot because he's the Eagles quarterback, but I think people need to separate it a little bit and understand, like, he has a great intuitive grasp of when his players are one-on-one and when to take the shot.
Yeah. I think part of that is pre-snap too. I mean, he is really good at recognizing, and according to a lot of reports, especially from what Saquon says, is he's audibling almost every single play this year, just from the fact that he wants to be throwing deep. He wants to get the ball downfield, especially when they don't have a lead.
Yeah, and I think I'm more talking a little bit more like when I criticize this pre-snap a little bit compared to these other guys, I'm just talking more like the protection calls and the I'm not sure he's as good as some of these guys at reading what the defense is in, but it kind of doesn't matter when you play for the Eagles. So
yeah, but yeah, I it's just the playoff ability and the fact that every single year he's been into playoffs, he has elevated.
Yeah,
it's hard for me to put Dak ahead of him, but I guess we can move on to Dak now. He's been having an incredible season, and in reality, when he's healthy, he still is an amazing QB. First, just to start off, his seam ball is the best in the NFL.
Oh yeah, hands down.
I think it's the best in NFL history. I think you can make a case. I know there's been some good guys in the past.
Brady had a beautiful seam ball to Gronk.
It is, but
of course it's kind of easy to throw the seam ball to Gronk.
Yeah,
but
it is.
Brady had a beautiful seam ball. Peyton's was pretty nice. Yeah, Dax might be the best. He just rips that thing too, though.
Yeah, he does.
He doesn't even doubt for a second that it might not go exactly where he wants it to.
Yeah. Honestly, if Dak was able to run, he would probably be very high on my list, and he actually probably would have playoff success. I just think part of it is the fact that his mobility is at best average, probably below average, for being realistic. And he hasn't really shown it in the playoffs or really even put it together for a full season completely. Like, I still think I would put him at 9, though, or 10. Yeah, 10, pretty solidly.
Yeah, so I'm with you here. I think Dak's the next guy. Some of his biggest weaknesses, in my opinion, are fairly pronounced, though. And that's fine when we get this low on the list, right? Like, these are not the quarterbacks you're really picking to be the Super Bowl, drivers. One of the things I think Dak probably does worse than anyone we're talking about, above him on the list or potentially putting it here instead of him, is, although maybe Goff, but if he has interior pressure or a free rusher from anywhere, either of those two things, those types of pressure, it's pretty bad.
Yes.
Like, he doesn't really have a solution for that. Part of that's the mobility. Part of it's, I don't think he's the most creative passer. Like, Burrow doesn't have the most mobility. He has a little bit more than Dak, right? But, like, Burrow kind of solves that by just being, like, a wizard when it comes to some of those anticipatory throws when someone's coming down the barrel at him and just finding the place where he can throw it to space. And maybe it's a screwed up play anyways, but maybe maybe it lands right in the wide receiver's hands. Dak doesn't really have any of those solutions, in my opinion.
Yeah. Which is why they invested so heavy into the interior O-line in every single draft. Because, yeah, it really is. He can't handle the interior pressure. And a lot of QBs do, especially lower mobility ones. But
yeah, and it's not easy.
It's not easy.
I'm not really getting on him about it. I'm just when we're picking hairs over some of these quarterbacks. Like, that's one of the things. Like, Baker theoretically should not be that good against free rushers or players of the this season and kind of the back half of last season. He's been pretty insane against free rushers and interior pressure. He's done a really good job of not letting that be a offensive a crippling issue for the offense.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a little bit of something to look at. Dak's deep ball is pretty good. I think Dak does a really good job of reading however you want him to, high to low, left to right. Like, I think the progression, the mental side of the game is very good. And and the pre-snap is excellent. He's kind of like he's kind of souped up Kirk Cousins is the way I would like. If Kirk Cousins was a top 10 quarterback, I'm talking about old Kirk Cousins, but if Kirk Cousins was a top 10 quarterback, this is what it would look like, just a couple dials are turned up,
Yeah, which is what the Cowboys kind of need right now because their defense has been beyond atrocious this year, and I still think the defense might have been actually like overperforming too. There's really a lack of talent there, and they're going to be in shootouts every single game,
Yeah.
and part of that is the reason that Dak is keeping it close, which is why he definitely deserves some respect this season.
I'll say this. Dak is, if you wanted to make a list purely off of quarterbacks going from behind, he probably jumps up like 3 or 4 spots on this list. I mean, he is exceptionally calm in those situations, probably because he has a lot of practice, but he's exceptionally calm in those scenarios. So that's a really good trait to have. And if you want to talk about maybe the Cowboys can get a little bit on track with like potentially trying to have playoff success next year, I could start to get on board with like that's a trait that can sell me on the potential to do that. So all right.
Also, I do want to mention this first.
Yeah, go for it.
In terms of why I have Hurts and Dak ahead of the next two guys, it really does come down to turnovers too. I forgot to mention
That's
that.
very fair.
Hurts and Dak, they both are fairly aggressive, pushing the ball downfield a lot, but they don't turn the ball over as high a rate as the next two guys who are going to be on our list. And I think a large part of that is just due to the fact, I mean, you kind of mentioned it with when talking about Hurts, is they like kind of know when guys are going to be in one-on-one coverage. And, most picks don't happen in one-on-one coverage because you trust your guys, you give them a good place ball, and those are less risky plays, and I think Hurts and Dak just have that kind of risk aversion. So if they did have a super team, per se, like, they aren't going to be the reason that holds their team back.
Right.
Well, that's kind of why I also have them.
Baker
like,
and Goff can
9,
definitely
10.
get into those ruts. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on here. I'm going to throw out. I think I like Baker over Goff. I want to give him a little bit of. I'm not. Some people are like very invested in this 6-game stint of Baker and thinking this is like the guy. I'm not there. I do want to give it the benefit of the doubt though that like some of this is like everything finally coming together to like this is the best version. This is actually a legitimate, true, like sustainable best form of Baker. In that like he gives you some problem solving, like defense breaking sort of attributes the way he's been playing lately. And so I don't know that I'm totally bought into that, but I don't think there's any way that exists for Goff. I don't think there's a world where that exists for Goff. And so, as good of a processor as Goff is, and as good as Goff is at a few things, I don't think, I would put him over Baker in any world.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's just when it comes down to third and long, there aren't that many QBs I would like choose like behind Goff. Is what I would say. I just don't trust him in those situations. Like he's just what you're getting with Goff. I think right now he's a very fundamentally solid QB. He goes through progressions. His accuracy is good, probably even better than Baker's, I would say.
I would
it's
say
just,
so, yeah.
I mean, that's my biggest gripe with Baker still. It's just the fact that he does have these errant throws fairly regularly, multiple a game. And when it really comes down to it, I know this year he hasn't been throwing a ton of picks, but he led the league in picks before. Like, all it takes is those throws to be a couple inches over, and all of a sudden he has a 4-pick game. Like, accuracy still is important. But other than that, he has that game-breaking ability, like you mentioned. The amount of times where he should have been sacked this year and somehow gets a first down just miraculously.
I got to think that's going to regress to the mean, but I want to give it the benefit of the doubt because Goff has never shown us anything like that.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I think it's hard for me to put him like any lower than this, even with his like.
He has had a tremendous season. So far, he really has.
Yeah. I kind of wish we saw a larger sample size of this. Like I think Baker could go up this list potentially, especially if he does fix in the accuracy. That's something that QBs can always just
Yeah.
fix over time. It's just, I mean, he still has a rock of an arm too. He always did. I still think he has the farthest throw in NFL history, maybe, or maybe it's PJ Walker.
I'm
It's
not
one of the
sure.
two. Or PJ Walker one was probably more impressive though. That was like the 67-yarder one
I think
or whatever.
I think the
The
top five has like two different Richardson throws in there, the PJ Walker throw, and one from Baker, and then I think there's one other from somebody else.
I think
I
Bo
don't know
Nix
what the order
actually.
is though.
I think Bo Nix last year had one that was pretty close to
He
it.
did. Yeah, he had a really crazy air yard. Yeah.
But Baker does have a rocket arm.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think the processing is anywhere near Dak, which is why I have him below him.
Right. I would agree with that. The processing is not as good as Goff either, but we kind of talked about why
Yeah,
they didn't do that. The other thing is I want to give Goff some credit. Like the pre-snap is very good with Goff. He gets the protection set very well. Like I think he gets some credit for how that run game functions because I think he gets them into the right play call for that a lot.
yeah.
And I think Baker's improved at that a lot, but it's not quite the same level. So, all right, Baker at 11. That leaves us with Jared Goff at 12. We've already kind of talked about him. Anything else you want to put on talk about with either of those guys or?
I think we could just sum up why we ranked these 12. Me personally, we kind of just were originally planning on doing a top 10, and we each got
Mhm.
like 12 guys that were like, okay, these are our 12. I think these guys are a tier above all the other QBs because I think these guys are truly like when you think of like great QB play that elevates a team, it will be these 12. I think after you get that, you have guys who you could be really good with or who do have a lot of the traits that are even better than some of these guys. Like obviously there's some guys like who we haven't even listed who do stuff better than the number 4 or number 5 guy on this list.
Yeah,
It's just these 12 I think are the most complete packages and I think there is a big tier drop off after them.
I agree. So let's contextualize that teardrop a little bit. Do you think anybody after these 12 can win a Super Bowl with a reasonably possible NFL team?
Yes. I think Brock Purdy could. I mean, he almost has done it
Right.
before.
I agree. I think Purdy and Love are both potentials. Love's a little bit more like I'm at the roulette table. Like,
Yeah.
I'm hitting
I mean, if he's on a hot
four
streak,
times in a row.
I think
But
he could win. I think he could win for like a fairly average team too.
that is very fair.
But
Yeah, no, that's kind of where I'm at there. I think there's probably 3 or 4 names after these 12 that like it is possible to go win a Super Bowl. How would you feel? I don't know. I'm just trying to contextualize what this gap really means. Do you think if you don't have one of these top 12 guys, then you should automatically not view them as someone you want to have as your franchise quarterback long term?
maybe, but I would view it if you don't have it because potential still matters.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are guys out there who are young who
That's
aren't
fair.
on this
Yeah.
list. Like just say like the Falcons
Caleb
right now,
Williams, Penix,
Caleb Williams.
yeah,
There's a lot of young guys out there who I would not like consider them even like fairly close to this list. But those franchises, and I actually do believe both those guys are talented enough that they could eventually reach like
yeah.
this list.
I mean, if you figured out what the guy is and he falls
Oh,
below this line, right?
yeah, I would say, yeah, I would ditch them.
Okay.
Like legitimately.
I think I'm not quite there. I was thinking about it, right? I wasn't sure. I think I'm not quite there, and I think you'll agree with this once I put it out there. I think it's you get them on the Darnold type contract, or you ditch them. It's one like you don't go, and that's part of the problem with Purdy. Like you don't give them the $50 million contract. You don't give them the high end contract, the contract that Lawrence got. You give them the Darnold contract, where you've got a lot of flexibility and it's a lower cap hit number that's still paying them a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. Like it's still worth paying those guys a decent chunk of money. But more flexibility, lower cap hit, and less like I'm tied to this guy for 4 years. That's kind of where I'm at. If you fall below this 12 line, I don't think you can. I don't think there's any argument to be given that sort of a contract.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what the tier probably is. I didn't really think about this. Guys who I think you're okay giving a max contract to.
Yeah.
Like giving maybe not like an absolute max, but like whatever I guess it actually, because every single guy has to
It's
set the
not worth
market.
dealing with the carousel unless if you somehow had the number one pick fall into your lap and there's a guy, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's not worth
yeah.
dealing with it.
If you could, but now we're seeing guys who aren't in this top 12 list get these max contracts that I just like right when he goes to the end of that rookie contract or whatever contract they're on, and they need a new one. And
Right. Love, Purdy, Lawrence, Tua.
yeah, that's actually crazy. So many QBs have max contracts right now who probably don't deserve.
I might be missing one, but Love, Purdy, Tua, and Lawrence have all received those big contracts, and I think outside of Love, they're pretty cemented as being outside of this top 12, and yeah, those contracts are not going to age well.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of what makes this list, and obviously this list is fluid. Some of those guys could step up. I mean, if Jordan Love figures it out, he could. I think he's not that far away from like a skill standpoint. From
Yeah, like we talked about this summer though, man. It's just like he's been around the league quite a while now. Like, I
yeah,
kind of think he is what he is. Maybe he can do the late career Baker thing, Geno thing, Darnold thing. I don't know. But even then, like, how often do we see a guy break really into that top 12? And yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, I think that's good. I think we just gave some honorable mentions. I think my next few would be Love, Purdy, and then one of like Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, just to give them a little bit of credit for how they've played this season. So that's kind of where I was looking for the next few, just to shout them out. But you want to give any else that I didn't mention?
yeah. No, or I guess just the young guys, Michael Penix, Caleb Williams. I just still think they're a decent ways out, but they have shown that they could maybe jump up eventually.
Yeah.
But
All right. Any last questions or things you think we should talk about, or should I rip through this one last time and get us out of here?
I'll just say one more thing. Right now, I'm actually very happy with the current like QB state in the NFL. I
It's been all right,
usually
yeah.
these lists, like to say if it was like 4 or 5 years ago, I feel like we were like struggling to get 7 or 8, and now we're at 12 that we feel pretty good about. At least that's just my opinion. We're seeing more and more good QBs, and the fact that like so many QBs are on max contracts right now is still kind of crazy to me. Obviously, some of that they don't deserve it, but overall, the QB like state in the NFL right now is really great, and it really leads to really fun football to watch.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see where May and Daniels end up at the end of this year. I think we'll have to come back. This will have to be something we do pretty soon after. I don't think we'll do it again anytime this season, or probably not even in the postseason. But after the postseason goes, this is probably something we need to come back to and talk about. So, yeah, I'm excited to see where all that goes. All right, I'm going to go back through these for anyone who wanted our final list. We decided on Patrick Mahomes at 1, Josh Allen at 2, Lamar Jackson at 3, Justin Herbert at 4, Matt Stafford at 5, Joe Burrow at 6, Jaden Daniels at 7, Drake Maye at 8, Jalen Hurts at 9, Dak Prescott at 10, Baker Mayfield at 11, and Jared Goff at 12. So, yeah, that's our list. Leave us comments, like, subscribe, please, if you like the content. If you're still here, I'm assuming you did. Otherwise, I don't know why you're still listening. But yeah, comment to us. We'll respond. Just enjoying talking about football. So, yeah, have a great evening.